Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CertiCraft episode 26. Thank you for your patience as we ran a few minutes late there. I just want to do a few housekeeping items before introducing our guests, as those of you who are regulars here are used to by now. First off, land acknowledgement. I live and work on in Nelson, BC. It's the unceded territories of the Sinixt and through intermarriage, the Tanaha people. 150 years ago, there were thousands of Sinixt in this territory, and now that is down to less than 10. All through a scalping program and some just really, really terrible practices that involved many a murder. And it's kind of gross when you think about it. And there's lots of other parts of Canada that have similar stories, and others that have, way less violent and harmful tales. And I encourage everybody here to, if you're not familiar with the original people of the land that you're on, to take the time to learn about their stories and what happened. I think it's that's the first step of any meaningful reconciliation, to actually understand the history of where you are at. So the CertiCraft, of which we're on the 26th episode here, second episode of season 2, is a podcast series where we discuss the state of the legal craft cannabis industry. In episode 1, hey Tanner, do you have headphones by any chance? I'm getting some feedback through, I think, your computer. I'm just going to mute you for the moment. There, that's way better. Episode 1, we focused, sorry, not episode 1, season 1, we focused on kind of more policy advocacy oriented direction, kind of what's going well, what's not going well, what needs to change to make things better for small scale licensed producers in the world of craft cannabis. Season 2, we're now highlighting cool companies, cool stories, people we respect around the industry. And we'll still touch on kind of the journeys and the trials and tribulations of the state of legal craft cannabis industry, but that's not the sole focus anymore like it was in season 1. Before I introduce our guests today, who I'm really excited to have here, I just wanted to point out that we'd love interaction, so please do say hi on the chat there. It's always a lot more fun when there's lots of back and forth dialogue going. And if you have any questions for our guest today, we have a dedicated questions tab that you can click on there. You can upvote any questions that you like. And at the end of today's session, we'll go through them in order of most upvoted. All right, without any further ado, I would like to introduce to you Genevieve, Catrina, and Tanner from Stewart Farms. Tanner, I muted you, so you might want to unmute yourself before you start speaking in a moment here. But yeah, what I'd like to do is just kind of go in order here of the three of you, and just have you each maybe take 30 to 60 seconds to just share a little bit about yourselves and your background and what led you to Stewart Farms. Maybe you can go in the clockwise that I see. So Genevieve, that would be you first, then Catrina, and then Tanner.
Okay. You can hear me all right. My name is Genevieve Newton, and I am over here at Stewart Farms. I'm the director of cultivation and the head grower. I oversee Stewart Farms here in New Brunswick, and also 3 other micro cultivation facilities in Nova Scotia, partnered facilities. And I've been here since August, so almost a year. The year has flown by. It's been amazing. Stewart Farms came for me in Alberta. They got me. I flew out here. Well, actually, I drove out here with everything I own, and it was a wild adventure, and it's been a wild adventure this whole time, and it wouldn't change a thing. I love it.
Cool.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Catrina Jackson. I'm the Director of Product Development here at Stewart Farms. So I create all of our topical products. My background is in herbal product development. I've been doing it since I was about 15 years old. And cannabis is my absolute favorite botanical input. I love working with it. It's so synergistic with other herbs, and you can have a lot of fun with it. So this being my job and working in the cannabis industry in this really cool company and doing what I love to do is a dream come true. So, yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Tanner Stewart, where the name Stewart Farms originated. I have been an entrepreneur for going on 17 years now. I am a New Brunswick native or resident who went to Alberta for 16 years and became an entrepreneur in the construction industry as a pipe fitter originally. 8 years ago, I started my journey into sustainable agriculture in general, agriculture technology, and also just becoming a advocate for soil specifically and the environment in general. I produced a movie called The Need to Grow. It is narrated by Rosario Dawson, who is also Ahsoka, the Jedi. For those of you who are Star Wars geeks, Rosario Dawson now plays a Jedi, which was very cool. She wasn't a Jedi when she narrated the movie, so it was really cool that about a year and a half later she became part of the Star Wars universe. But it's an excellent film. I recommend anybody try to see it. It's called The Need to Grow. It's all about living soil and the importance of soil to our planet. And that movie really embodies, and I embodied that movie myself and a lot of the content in it. It's a really good foundational anchor for what drives Stewart Farms in general. And really that's, making a difference through what we do, whether it's through the cannabis products that we develop, and how those are helping people feel well, or the experiences that we're giving through our craft flower selections, or on the environmental side through our operational choices and our commitment to operate as sustainably and as plastic free as possible. So yeah, entrepreneur for 16, 17 years. I've been in sustainable agriculture tech and farming and soil related endeavors for the last 8 years. And that's led to Stewart Farms and this great team. So
amazing. So one quick ask for you for when you are not talking and have the capacity for it, if you could drop a link to that film, that would be great.
Sure.
I'm sure people would love to see that. You just muted yourself again, I think. I see your mouth moving, but can't hear anything.
Yes, I did mute myself.
And then the follow-up question to any of you three, whoever feels called to answer, is how would you describe Stewart Farms in like 3 sentences or 4 sentences? Like, what would be like, why did it start? Maybe that would be for you, Tanner. Why did it start? Why did you start the business? And then like, what, for those who aren't familiar with Stewart Farms, like what's the scope of what you guys do? And yeah, how do you think about the business? And we'll get into the sustainable side later. I've got more questions about that. Sure.
Yeah, so I can answer the why we started, and like you said, and Genevieve and Catrina can take it from there. So Stewart Farms is the culmination of my entire entrepreneurial career. It's a selfish vehicle for me to try to make a difference in the world. It's hopefully going to lead to some sort of legacy things or actions that help a lot of people and demonstrate a lot of good ways to operate a business. So it's my passion for wellness, my passion for sustainable agriculture, me having been a cannabis user for almost 2 decades, and no, more than 2 decades. Oh man, I just had a birthday. So it's really taking all of these things that I've been journeying to and putting them all together into one, nice innovative package. And, I call cannabis 2 things. I call it the tip of the agriculture innovation spear, and also the tip of the medical and wellness innovation spear. So it's revolutionizing. It's got the potential, and it is in real time revolutionizing 2 of the most important industries. I mean, agriculture is health, right? Is health and wellness, and is healthcare, and what cannabis provides is this different form of agricultural crop that has all these very, very, very different and very variable lines of revenues, unlike any other crop in the world. Anybody in this chat, or anybody in general, you give me an example of a crop that can be turned into as many things as cannabis, and that includes hemp, all the hemp derivatives of the genetics. Name me something like it. I challenge you. And then on the medical side, same thing. So Stewart Farms was originally founded to do something to make a better tomorrow. So,
Catrina, Genevieve, anything you guys would add to how you define Stewart Farms?
It was really, like I mentioned before in the pre-chat, that this is my 5th facility in legal cannabis. And the reason I've hopped around so much, and I also mentioned, or maybe we mentioned on here, that I come from social work. So I did about 15 years in that industry and in the city of Edmonton. So it was a hardcore, heavy job that I love, and to this day still like to be a part of, helping and community and collaboration. And so every time I go looking for a new place to join, that's what I'm looking for, is how I can take both of my worlds and put them together. So I did retire from social work in 2018 to jump into legal cannabis because I was already doing it illegally and I wanted to live a more genuine life. And so that's what I did. But now with Stewart Farms, I didn't realize almost until I came over here, is that now I'm mentoring youth, I'm growing cannabis, I'm mentoring the community, we're collaborating with other people out here on the East Coast. It's like very much what I've been seeking. So to me, that's what Stewart Farms is. It's that collaboration of community and weed. It's culture. It's what everyone wants.
Katrina,
yeah, for me, like Stewart Farms has been an amazing vehicle for me to help spread the good word about cannabis and alternative ways to feel well. I'm a really busy mom and, have a busy career, and cannabis just is such a great alternative for me to feel well and to unwind. And it's really important to me to get that message out, alternative ways to use this flower. And then also our team, like we work with such a passionate cannabis loving team. In our interviews, we actually ask, like, what does cannabis mean to you? And so many cool stories come out of that. You don't by any means need to be a consumer to work with us, but you absolutely have to value the plant and believe in its unprecedented potential to help people, and just have, passion and commitment for what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. And we have that. We have the most amazing team of passionate, awesome individuals that just love what they do and are doing it for all the right reasons.
Cool. Awesome. You were telling me before the show about a couple cool programs kind of on the topic of team and culture and community that you guys have been developing and launched at Stewart Farms in recent times. And I feel like this is a good moment to kind of bring those up. Do you guys want to share a bit about those two things?
Sure. Well, Genevieve mentioned her background was in social work. There's several of us that come from background. My background was in human services as well. And there's multiple of us who have all been community leaders and outreach based. And we try to bring a lot of that into what we do at Stewart Farms. As employers in a small community, we have a social responsibility to our community to do good things. In some of our most recent endeavors, we have tilapia, which we'll talk about later, who serve a very valuable role at our farm. And
for those of you who, like me, do not know what that was, because I only discovered in the pre-call, it's a kind of fish. That's what she's talking about.
So we have our fishies, who are very important to our operations. And recently we had to reduce our numbers of fish. And we actually paired up with several different community organizations, our local food bank, actually 2 local food banks in 2 different communities, our local community college, so they can learn to cook with tilapia. And then we're providing really, natural, healthy protein to families who need it. So those are our little fishies there. That's something we're really proud of that we've recently done. And another one of our initiatives that I'm so incredibly proud of, and I challenge anyone who works in this industry to give this a go. We hired our entire vocational center, and a vocational center is a place where individuals who are neurodivergent or have a physical or a mental disability can come and look for opportunities. And we engaged with our vocational center to help us build our bath bomb boxes. We produce bath bombs, and we house them in these beautiful cardboard child-resistant cartons that required folding and building and manufacturing of the boxes when they arrived on site. And for my, neurotypical production team, it was a tedious add-on to our operations, but we got thinking about it, and that the simple folding of the tabs and putting together the box was an opportunity for somebody else. So we reached out and we onboarded 16 amazing individuals who, started out folding boxes, and now some of them, depending on their comfort level and their ability, will come into our facility and work with Jen in cultivation, or, help us shrink wrap our bath bombs for selling, and it's just a really awesome opportunity. This particular group used to only get paid a stipend of like $1 a day for real hard work. And these are amazing people with great skills who contribute so much to our operations, and they deserved a real wage and an opportunity, and we were able to give that to them. And, every cannabis company, packaging is everybody's nightmare. It's a bottleneck. It's a struggle. And I really, I put that challenge out there, kind of think outside the box and look who, that challenging bottleneck might be a true opportunity for someone else in your community.
Awesome, Catrina. I can see everybody in the chat is really stoked on that initiative you guys are taking as well. And yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it's neurodiverse people are so often overlooked, and if there is a task that is repetitive, that somebody who has all their full mental acuities and operate within the normal social norms that we have, that they find boring, well, there might be somebody else who is just really well suited for that, who would find an incredible opportunity. I have a friend from university, Byron Dye was his name, and his younger brother is autistic, and he started this company called Divergent, where it's a space for neurodiverse people to essentially find employment through this online marketplace, so to speak, and it pairs employers that are open to neurodiverse hires to find people who are actively looking for work in that kind of space. So maybe I'll find a link for that, and I'll share it as well in case there is anybody out here who is interested in hiring people who are on the spectrum or neurodiverse in different kinds of ways. Anything else you guys want to share about your community outreach programs? Or
yeah, I'll throw in here. I hopefully everybody can see that video that's playing there. But this is that team. This is the team from the vocational center, doing their work at our farm. It has been right now. So we've been running this program for about 7 months. The reason there's many reasons that we started doing this program, but one of the objectives of the program was to analyze what happens, right? So this isn't just something we willy-nilly threw into the company without purpose. What we're doing is we are monitoring what benefits, if there's any downsides as well, right? When you go into a assessment of something, you got to look for positives and potential negatives. So we just ran through our first 7 months. Now we are profiling each of the staff members that's been working with us for that time period. What have been the benefits? Has there been, what do their families think? What do they think? How do they feel? How are they spending their money? In general, right? How are they using it? Is it improving what they're doing? And then internally, we're looking at the same thing. What has that done for the rest of our staff? We can tell you that it has raised overall. Morale is good anyways, but it improved morale even more. We didn't even think about that when we started the program. But we're looking at the numbers too. We're saying, okay, what are the numbers? What do those look like? And how can we create a demonstration program? So the main goal of this is to come out of this and say, not come out of it, but continue it and say, okay, this is what happened. This is how it's going. This is what's going really well. Here's some gaps. And then we're going to, partner, hopefully, and go to our provincial government. We can feed this information to the federal government as well, and share it with our fellow employers across all of New Brunswick and say, here's what we did. Here's how we did it. Here's how it works. Here's why it's good for you. And so the whole idea is to create a model, and this is the core of a lot of shit we do, which is which takes time and foresight and effort, and it's like, how can we demonstrate for other companies, you should do this too, but here's the benefits, because it can't be, like, you can't rely on the business community as a whole to just do things because they should. Right? That's just not how life works, right? But if you could show people that they should do things because it's financially beneficial, and get rid of as much as we wish everybody would do things just because they should, but if you can give the financial reasons as well, and all these other ancillary benefits, then it just makes it a no-brainer, right? So this is one of the goals behind what we're doing. So
one concern that comes up for me when I hear that, you guys at Stewart Farms, you guys are clearly a kick-ass team that's caring, you're community oriented, you're thinking about things that your typical business doesn't need to think about, because you care about the environment, you care about your community, you care about your impact, you care about being a positive influence, which I think is relatively rare in the general corporate world, not cannabis specifically. My one concern that I have that comes up for me is, like, what if you guys put out all this information on the positives of engaging your neurodiverse community, bringing them in. I'm concerned about a company that's, let's say, shitty in nature, doesn't have good ethics or values, being like, oh, this is financially good for us to hire these people, and then they hire like a few neurodiverse people, but they don't treat them with care, they don't treat them with compassion, and it becomes this kind of shitty workplace environment where they're harmed instead of nurtured and supported. And I can easily see that being a reality that emerges with some of the companies in the industry that we're in that just don't have morals. That's what it really comes down to. Curious to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, I mean, no matter what happens, all those companies are here. They're all here right now. All those companies are treating all their non-neurodivergent staff like shit as we speak. So, I mean, there's no net negative. There's not really a net negative. The only way to address, issues with companies that treat people like shit is a vibrant economy where people don't have to stay wherever they work, right? And I don't really see as much of a risk of that in, like, if let's go right to exactly this program that we're trying to demonstrate, because the vocational centers that these staff members are attached to, and government workers actually are part of this program. Like, job coaches are included, and that's already an existing federal program. They have job coaches to support them. So because they typically wouldn't necessarily be as an island with, going into these companies, they would have their care workers and care support with them. I think they would be fairly protected from that. Like, if we're talking specifically these vocational center style programs, whereas the current employees that are working for shit companies don't have anybody in there that's going to help them. They're just stuck.
So. That's a good point. And so vocational centers, because this is the first that I've heard of them being attached to neurodiverse people or people with different kinds of disabilities. Is that a Canada-wide thing? That kind of the vocational center model that you guys described, or is that specific to New Brunswick?
It exists all over Canada, but it's actually a lot of them are being phased out with the idea that they used to be known as sheltered workshops, and it was somewhere out of the community where these individuals could go, and it was really founded in, it was very discriminatory that they be removed from the community and out of sight in the vocational centers. Now what those centers are trying to do is get these individuals out into the communities, into places like Stewart Farms or any retail businesses, different things like that. So the physical structure of the vocational center is starting to go away in Canada, which is a good thing. And then individuals are being paired up with job coaches and real life community experiences. So we still do have one here, and it's phenomenal. They are out in the community doing a lot of great things. But the whole idea of the vocational center itself is a model that we're moving away from currently.
So then if there was an LP that was listening to this right now or later on YouTube, and they were like, you know what, that sounds really cool. Like, I'd like to support people who I didn't even know I could support. What would you recommend they look for if they were to do a search right now for their community where maybe there isn't a vocational center anymore? Like, would searching for a vocational center, Calgary, Alberta, or Kelowna, BC, or whatever it is, would that still yield something useful for them, or is there something else you'd recommend they look for?
Job coaching programs would be something to look for. Assisted community living programs. In New Brunswick, we have the NBACL, so the New Brunswick Assisted Community Living, and that's literally to assist individuals to get into their communities and live beneficial, normal lives within their communities, and those exist throughout Canada. But there are a lot of independent job coach programs, different things like that. So if you look up job coaching resources, that will eventually link you to those individuals.
Cool. Super neat. Yeah. Anything else anybody want to share on the community and social kind of aspects of Stewart Farms? All right, let's shift gears into the sustainability side. So, one of the things that does really set Stewart Farms apart from a lot of other LPs is your approach to sustainability and wanting to have vertical farming while also not contributing an immense amounts of an immense carbon footprint in the way that most indoor facilities tend to. So, most famously, you guys have an aquaponics based system. So I'm curious if you guys can share two things. First, just aquaponics generally, kind of how, for somebody who maybe is, familiar with the term but doesn't really know much about it, like, how is it approached generally? And then secondly, would be more specifically to Stewart Farms, how are you guys using aquaponics at your facility? If you guys can speak to those things, I'd really appreciate that.
I'm gonna let Tanner take the aquaponics.
Yeah, and you do the using that facility part. So aquaponics at a very high level, and the word itself is the marriage of aquaculture, which is fish farming, and hydroponics, which is growing plants with only water. So the term aquaponics was kind of but aqua also stands for water, and hydro stands for water. So actually, if you took the broken down meanings of hydroponics and aquaponics, it's both water working, right? Ponics means working, but aqua in this case is aquaculture in the aquaponics terms. So you marry fish farming with plant production, and there's a whole bunch of different ways to do that, right? One way is deep water culture, habitat.
What does deep water culture mean?
So deep water culture is when you're using only the water as the grow medium. So typically you might have a little rock wall puck or a coco coir puck. Maybe you'd have a little grow medium cube, and then the roots would be just hanging down in the deep water, right? That's why they call it.
And so the fish are like swimming between the roots, essentially.
Well, that is the most rudimentary form of aquaponics. Yes, where you would just put plants on a raft and fish are swimming underneath it, right? That was the original. You're doing a deep cut, so that was by accident. That was the original form of aquaponics. It was called chinampas. It was done by the Aztecs It was done in Mexico originally, and they used to float big rafts. So this is couple thousand years ago, right? They used to float big rafts over fish ponds. So they were farming their fish and they were growing their plants at the same time on top of those fish farms. But how we do it is we have a separate fish farm in a separate room, and we just pull the nutrients from that room. So you separate them. You have a land-based fish farm, you have a production farm, and for us, it's about sharing waste streams, right? So as soon as you decide to go down the road of, okay, we're going to use some format of aquaponics to farm, you're basically committing to a general mentality of farming. So an aquaponics farmer is a herbicide, pesticide free farmer. You cannot mix that stuff into your cycle. You are a living farmer. You're taking living water and you're mixing it, either using just living water, which is microbial rich water, or you're taking that living water and and you might be putting it into a living soil medium like we do, right? And Genevieve will talk more about that. And but you're pretty much in the religion of regenerative farming, waste-free farming, circle of life farming. That's what aquaponics is, right?
And with Stewart Farms, because I'm very unfamiliar with aquaponics generally, though I am quite familiar with regenerative farming. I live in the Kootenays here, and there's a lot of permaculture farmers, especially in cannabis in the area here. So with what you guys have at Stewart Farms, have you hit a point where you can have a full, like, the waste of one is all of the inputs of the other and vice versa, or do you guys still have to add other things as well to the mix?
Yeah, no, we're not at that point yet. Right now, it's basically all research driven, and we're establishing baselines of what is happening. And I'll let Genevieve talk about some of those current research projects that we're doing right now and how she's using it. So,
Do you want to take away, Genevieve?
Sure do.
Yeah, awesome.
So like Tanner said, the way I kind of look at it is it's like Stewart Farms is a teaching school. So we're not just creating models for community development, but we're creating models for aquaculture or aquaponics, and also for using it with living soil for our own farm, for other farms. We're documenting, we work with science, we work with scientists. So right now we have an experiment going on in one of our monocrop rooms. So we have a dosi cake room. In there,
is dosi cake the name of the cultivar?
That is the name of the cultivar, yep. And so in that room, we have half the room. We're just feeding the plants with regular water, filtered water. And then the other half of the room, we're feeding daily with microbial fish waste. And so we are halfway through, or more than halfway through now. And so just some preliminary things that we're noticing is that by replenishing the living soil with new microbial activity daily, it's helping the plant uptake and absorb the nutrients in a more well-rounded way. And so they're staying greener longer. And so you're not having to top feed them at all, or not as soon. So there's some that we are having to start top feeding, but there are a few weeks, like it's just really, so now we're like, my brain is going and we're looking into dial in. So how can I use this specific soil, not purchase the top feed, but instead use the microbial waste and use just the microbial and living soil nutrient activity that's in what we already have, basically.
So Genevieve, just clarification question for those of us who maybe aren't as well versed in the world of cultivation. Can you describe what top feed is? Is this just like any input that you're adding, or is it something more specific than that?
Yeah, so we're very specific and strategic about what we put into our plants. And so if we're using a soil that's specially designed with a food additive, then we would be using that just to R&D it. Same thing with adding the fish waste. So the top dressing is physically just putting a nutrient-rich feed on top of the plant soil and then rubbing it into the soil and then watering it in. So that's not quite water soluble yet, but by adding in the microbial activity, that helps break it down faster and the plant can eat it faster.
And just to make sure I'm on the same page, the top feed does not include the waste from the fish. That's the microbials that you're talking about, and that would come from underneath through a pipe. Like how does that?
Yeah, so the fish waste is, so it's not a nutrient additive, it's more of a microbial additive. So you're thinking of, like, if you think of a brand name like Microbial Mass, that would be like, or fish, it's called fish shit, you know, like that kind of stuff. So it's like you don't have to feed your plants, but you can give them this little vitamin, you know, once a week or once every 2 weeks. And that's what we're trying to dial in, is we know it works. We're just trying to figure out how often the plant needs it, and just bare minimum, like how long can you make it last? Some of these plants are huge, like they're just like exponentially bigger than the other plants. Like we're seeing some real serious results in there, and we're not at the end, so we don't have actual results, but it's just observable right now. It's just all observable.
Yeah. So everything everything we do on the aquaponics front needs and to do any sort of proper research or comparison, you need baselines, right? We need we need financial foundational baselines. So there's the living soil only rows, and then there's the water only row, and then there's this one doesn't get any, these get pure water, no fish manure. These ones get a little bit of the top dressing. So we have multiple different we've got a few different variables to look at right now. Of course, because we're trying to move fairly quickly along the path of these kind of macro assumptions. What we're looking for right now is just patterns that will inform a better and better, hypothesis and better research, right? So at the macro level, we're saying, okay, with fish water, this, and this looks better. And in these visual numbers, in these weight numbers, in the sensory experience, these are the differences we're noticing. We know there's more nose, there's more flavor, there's less flavor, there's more yield, there's less yield, higher THC. THC levels, right? So we're taking these macro comparisons and saying, okay, looks like we have a trend here. Looks like we have a trend here. And then what that will do is then create better questions for us to move forward, better research projects. And then eventually what we're doing is we're going to try to get under the hood or under the soil and into the microbial cultures themselves, right? And say, all right, this is the microbial mass that is produced within our fish system. And I'm not trying to steal that trademark from microbial mass if anybody's here watching, but it's, a mass of microbials is where that came from, right? So they just made it a name of a product. But we're looking at what are we producing for microbes out of our fish system. And anybody who's ever made a tea and knows how annoying that is to make, and you got to ferment it for 36 hours, and you got to keep it at this temperature, for that whole time. You got to bubble it. You're farming microbes, right? That's what you're doing. That's what the tea is for. And fish farm is like live. I call it a live feed tea system, right? If I want to use cannabis terminology, it's like a tea factory, right? And it's always ready. The microbes are right there, ready to go, right?
Just go get them,
right? But we gotta figure out what they're doing, and the science of microorganisms, and we know more about the stars than we know about what's going on underneath our feet, right? We are quite ignorant still to how nature produces things, and that's exciting because that means there's a lot to figure out, right? And that's what we're doing. So
my assumption as somebody who is relatively ignorant to this stuff, more so than anybody who's actually working in it, is that one of the challenges and the things you will have to research is that the microbes that are coming out of fish are just going to be different from the microbes that a more traditional permaculture farmer would use. So I know the regenerative farmers that I talk to, when they're walking through a forest or a zone where they're just everything's super lush and vibrant, they have a tendency to just take a scoop of the soil from wherever that is, put it in a baggie and bring it back to them to add it to their farms to introduce that microbial life to the culture that's on their farm. And my assumption, and maybe it's a false one, is that the kind of microbes that live in water with fish aren't as instantly suited to soil-based living as microbes coming from soil. Do you guys know much about that? Or is that part of what I'm trying to figure out?
That would be, nobody would have any idea to be able to answer that specific question. So to my point, this is exactly what we're researching. It's and yes, your mix, it's microbiomes, right? So
Yeah.
you take the microbiome of fish water and you're mixing it together with the an existing microbiome that is that naturally appears or comes to be as the ecosystem in a particular root zone balances itself out, and because there's always inherent microbes in your mixture of soil, or where either outdoors or you bring in living soil indoors, there's like an existing microbiome there. But then there's natured microbes that will just move in, and what I mean by are local microbes. So in New Brunswick, as an example, inherently, if I'm growing a cannabis plant outside, there's going to be a variance in what microbes exist, are prevalent in New Brunswick versus Alberta. There'll be commonalities for sure, but this is arguably, the microbial ecosystem and the rhizosphere of any given plant, and the natured microbes, and is there fish nutrient in there, is there not, all that stuff. Well, that's the terroir, is what that is. That's the terroir, right? So those growers that are taking some soil out of a place in the woods and bringing it back into their own formulation or their own regenerative farming recipe, they're just changing the terroir. They're bringing some of that terroir from that location and putting it into their location. So you can just envision different ecosystems of microbes being transported into these nutrient uptake systems, right? So
One quick clarification question for you. What does rhizosphere mean?
So that is the zone around the root system where fungus exists. That's the term for the mycelium network, or the fungal network that only exists in soil, right? Here's an overarching question. Now I don't think it's very disputable that the rhizosphere and mushroom or fungal interaction is important. I think we all know there's a lot going on there, and having mycelium in the root zone of a plant is important. But what we can do is we can say, okay, let's take deep water culture doesn't have a rhizosphere because it's pure water, right? You need soil for fungus to establish itself, right? So in a deep water culture system, you could take a microbial mass or microbiome and have that feeding this particular genetic, and then you can have a soil-based test side by side where you do have where a fungal rhizosphere and a mycelium can form, and you can try. This is where it's going to go all out of whack, because you can't control what microbes form, right? But you could say, okay, let's assume you could do this, but it would be almost impossible. But if you could say these microbes are the same here, and these microbes are the same here. This is water, no mushrooms, no fungus, pure water. We got the soil over here, and we got the rhizosphere, right? We got mycelium and fungus that forms because there's soil to hold it together. And then you're just looking at that and saying, is this better nutrient uptake? What are these microbes doing over here? Because they got shit to hang on to, and they got a mushroom highways that they can travel on. And then in the water, they got nothing. They're just floating. They're just, so that's really it. You're just, so a lot of everything we're doing right now is we're just trying to look at it. We just want to look at it.
And have you guys done research of comparing and contrasting roots straight in water versus in soil? Is that what led to you guys using soil today, or?
We're doing that right now. So right now, Genevieve and her team are testing. We're about to get results back on the microbiome in the water. We're testing the soil with no fish water. So we're getting all those foundational looks at everything right now. But I've been doing this. I started doing this work at my previous company when I was doing leafy greens. So this is whereas this is really kind of year 3 or the beginning of year 3 of Stewart Farms getting anchored in this research. This is year 8 for me, as far as or 7 or 6, I guess, since I've been kind of into this journey of figuring out what's going on in aquaponics and with microbes in general. Plant growth promoting microbes is the, or bacteria. Plant growth promoting bacteria is one of the scientific terms for it. So
cool. So Genevieve, one thing you brought up in the conversation we had before going on air was that you had known about Stewart Farms for a while because of their bath bombs, if I'm remembering correctly, and that was part of the connection there. And you knowing Catrina beforehand. So Catrina, I'm curious. We haven't talked about that part of your business at all, but I know it is a big part of your business, and I've heard a lot of people talk. You know, when I mention Stewart Farms, they say bath bombs. That's kind of the association in their mind. Can you maybe speak to that side of your operation and what you guys do there?
Yeah, so we handcraft artisanal bath bombs right in our facility across the hall from Genevieve. We have an awesome team of people who come in, and every single bath bomb is made by hand with love. And for me, with the bath bombs, again, it's all about giving people that wellness experience from the comfort of their own home and giving people an alternative way to enjoy cannabis. So I mentioned I'm a mom, I've got little kids. I myself have chronic pain, I have arthritis, and you know, I can't, sometimes you can't just reach for a joint if you need to use some cannabis. And, you know, introducing cannabis in the form of a bath bomb was a really fun way to bring new people onto the green side and getting a feel for these products. The bath bombs themselves were kind of differentiated from any other bath bomb in the legal cannabis industry, in that we're incredibly terpene focused with our bath bombs. We know that cannabinoids and terpenes are very synergistic and work incredibly well together. So it was really important for me to get all those great cannabis terpenes into our bath bombs. So if you look at our OG 3 main bath bombs, we launched with Bubba Kush, which is, you know, a classic indica cultivar known for sleep and tranquility. And I've recreated the terp profile that you would find in that flower and incorporated it into the bath bomb. So you've got your linalool, your beta caryophyllene, your myrcene, all those really sedating, tranquilizing terpenes going on in that bath bomb. So if you use the Bubba Kush bath bomb, you can expect an authentic Bubba Kush type experience without the psychoactive high of the cannabis. Same with Blue Dream, a classic, iconic strain well known for its daydreamy effects and euphoria. All of the terpenes and essential oils that we've incorporated into that bath bomb will deliver that same kind of effect. So there was a big education piece tied into what we're doing, in that terpenes are everywhere. They're not unique to cannabis. If something has a smell, or you sniff an essential oil, that essential oil is loaded in terpenes. They're everywhere, and they're incredibly therapeutic. I mentioned my background was in herbalism and botanical product development. So using essential oils and all these different terpenes is something I'd been doing for a long time, but doing it synergistically with cannabis and such a cool product is new and really fun for me. And I think for our consumers, we're doing really, really well with our bath bombs. The feedback has been incredible. And they're a really high quality artisanal product. As someone who loves topicals, when they became legal, I was really excited, but I did find that a lot of the topicals were just like a base cream with some cannabinoids loaded in, and there was no product concept, no creativity, no synergy. And I just wanted to deliver a really full, well-rounded cannabis experience from the comfort of your own tub. Like, you know, lock the door, don't let the kids in. Mom's having her time, dad's having his time. Like, you know, get in the tub and relax. Like, everyone deserves that.
Oh, that's great. I love your focus on terps. I'll just bring that closer here. Save the terps. I don't know how easy to read that or not.
Oh, I see it.
The terps are important, and everybody forgets about them.
Yes, they're so important. So yeah, in all of our topicals, we produce our bath bombs, of course, but we've also recently launched a brand called Rebound, and it's all about rebounding from whatever life throws your way. You know, if it's, for me, it's just being a busy working full-time mom. It could be you're rebounding from athletic strain, or, you know, anything that life throws at you. And we make these beautiful salt soaks that are very, very potent, affordable. So, you know, if you need a bath every single week or a couple times a week to just feel your best, then we're trying to come up with innovative and affordable solutions to be able to do that are high potency. We have Blueberry Sunset and Seaweed OG are our two salt soaks offerings that we have right now. Seaweed OG is very cool. I love this product. We actually use Alaria bladderwhack, which is a type of seaweed that's harvested from the Bay of Fundy, 20 minutes from our facility. So it's a local group. It's a hyper-local ingredient. And that particular species of seaweed is being tested on Parkinson's because it has antispasmodic properties. So it's very calming. So you soak in this hot tea bath of seaweed and eucalyptus and Dead Sea mineral salts, and it detoxifies and calms the body, and you get that uptake of all those great terpenes and cannabinoids, and you just feel phenomenal.
I've got two questions. One for somebody in the chat, actually, Nathan, who is works at a retail store nearby to me here in the Kootenays. Nathan, do you guys carry any of the Stewart Farms bath bombs or these salt soaks? Because I would like to get some. That's question number one. Question. Oh, and he says, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. I knew he was talking about it.
Thank you, Nathan.
And question number. Wait, actually, another question for you, Nathan, was the bath bombs that made your family feel comfortable with you entering the cannabis industry? He was saying earlier in the chat, for those of you who weren't reading that or are on YouTube, that his family was concerned about him entering the cannabis industry until he got them to try bath bombs, and then that was kind of the gateway to make them be okay with cannabis. Was that Stewart Farms as well?
Yeah.
That's why we do what we do.
Well, there you guys go.
Sorry, I just want to jump in here. We were at this vendor trade show event, Catrina and I, yesterday, and there was a whole bunch of other LP representatives there as well. And there was one lad there with tweed, and he's at a BC, and he walks over to our booth and he sees our triple pack box sitting on our table, and he's like, "Oh, that's you guys. I bought that for my mom for Mother's Day. She loved it, you know." And you know, and the whole day, Katrina, it was about a 4-hour trade show, and it was person after person after person coming through and saying, you know, my mom loves these, I loves these, my whole family are loving these, you know, I do one a week. We've had people with medical conditions across the country, right? We had a nurse with lupus who came and visited us a couple weeks ago, who was only about 40 minutes away. For whatever reason, the Bubba Kush bath bomb specifically, that's what relieves her. That's what makes her feel great. She met Catrina. She was almost in tears. She's like, "Thank you guys so much. I can't tell you how much I love this, and it makes me feel." But like, we're not selling bath bombs. We're selling mental health and relief and wellness, right? And that's what a bath bomb is. So when we sell a 3-pack of bath bombs, we're selling 3 hours of you time, right? You know, we recommend a 1-hour bath 1 hour before bed because it sounds catchy and easy, like easy for people to remember. But you know, my old spiel was, well, you know, at least 30 minutes, but no less than 45, but aim for an hour, right? So now we're just going for 1 hour bath 1 hour before bed. And if they stay, you know, but you know, you got to soak, right? The thing with soaking is you got to soak. You know, I had a buddy call me, and he said, "I tried one of your bath bombs. It really didn't feel much." I said, "Well, how long were you in there?" He said, 15 minutes. I was like, "Okay, man. Well, I told you, like, no less than 30. You know, you're staying there for an hour, right? Because you're soaking, right? So your skin needs time to absorb the moisturizers and absorb the cannabinoids and all that stuff. But you know, it's really satisfying. You know, like when you get into the industry, like Catrina and Jen, you know, did, and we're all very aligned on what we get a kick of. Don't get me wrong, we have to make money, otherwise we won't stick around. So you know, every good company needs to be profitable and make money. So we are concerned with making money because we want to keep doing what we're doing. But you know, that's not what gets any of us out of bed, right? And you know, it's so satisfying to be getting this feedback loop from consumers for all these different reasons, and we know we're helping people. We know we're not wondering. We know, so.
Amazing. I've got maybe one last question for me to the audience. If you got any questions, please ask them in the questions tab, because otherwise we'll wrap up after this last little bit here. Just on the sciencey side of bath bombs, like how does it work? You have these terpenes, you have these cannabinoids. I'm assuming there's Epsom salt in there as well. You have the seaweed you were talking about. It all dissolves in the water, and like how does it just remain on the epidermis layer, or does it get absorbed deeper into your body? If you can speak to like how it mechanically, anatomically works, I'm just really curious about that.
Yeah. All topicals work locally, so they'll affect immediately the area where they are. So soaking in them is always my favorite, because you're getting full body activation, full body absorption. Your skin is covered in endocannabinoid receptors, and it's an awesome mechanism for absorption. So if you're just using a bath bomb on its own, it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. We work with all kinds of natural absorption enhancers like the terpene geraniol, tremella, that's snow mushroom extract, different things to help you get the most uptake of your cannabinoids. But you won't get a high from it. I do say, like, it'll feel like your muscles are stoned. If you're like this and you're really tense, it'll just reduce all of that and, calm inflammation, tension, spasms, different things like that. But you won't get a high from it. So it's a great entry point product for anyone looking to experience cannabis, but not looking for that psychoactive component. Now, for the consumers who are looking for a high and are looking for that, leveled up experience, get in your tub with an infused bath bomb, smoke a joint, do a dab, have an edible. Yeah, like do whatever, consume something. You're activating your entire endocannabinoid system. You're experiencing absorption and consumption from every part of your body, and it's next level. If you are looking to really sink into a deep relaxation, like, get in the tub with a joint, man. It is a feeling.
And especially if you get your hands on a Stewart Farms joint, obviously that is any joint is good, but if it's Stewart Farms and Stewart Farms, you got the ultimate package.
Go get that dosey cake, BC.
Gotta get that dosey cake.
Sold out, actually. Well, I got to restock yet.
Yeah, we hope hopefully we don't have. So we did a couple drops in BC. Maybe we can. Can I segue your podcast over to our weed?
Go for it. Yeah, let's do We'll do the last 5 minutes, and it can be whatever.
Okay, we got to talk weed for the last 5 minutes. So I'm going to show you guys. I've been doing the share screen thing. I don't know if it's working out here.
It's working. You can see it.
But okay, well, I'll show you guys our five pillar strains that Stewart Farms currently runs. So. Royal Kush. This is Mandelbrot's Royal Kush. It is the Mandelbrot selection cut. It is not a seed selection of ours. And this popularized fuel on the West Coast. This is some foundational. This is a foundational legacy or legendary genetic. Whatever you want, legacy or legendary, whatever you want to pick.
Legendary.
Legendary. Yeah. We that's what the weed. That's what the weed industry is, right? We make up words all the time. And original cookies. This is the original. This cut was held for over 15 years, I'd say, roughly now. This is Girl Scout cookies. That's what we called it, original cookies, because it is arguably one of the original cookies cuts held by Kevin Jodrey. Hollywood OG. So this is our third legacy / legendary. I can't even say that word. We're gonna have to practice it. Hollywood OG.
You could go with legacy.
Legacy. There we go. Hollywood OG is another legacy strain.
Just harvested on Friday at our farm.
Yeah.
How did it smell?
Ooh.
like onions and BO. It smells so dank. Onion burgers. It's so dank. Yeah, in the best way.
Cannabis is probably the only industry where you could describe a produce's smell as onions
Yeah,
and
you get
BO. And certain people will get really
cannabis.
excited about that and be like, oh, yeah, that sounds amazing. I need to get my hands on that.
Yeah, that will jack you up for sure.
Yeah.
People come in there like, oh, like you guys been working overtime in here. It smells so bad. That's a plant.
Well, so those are the three legends, and then we got two newbies or kind of more trendy selections. Brittany's Frozen Lemons is an in-house selection and hunt that Stewart Farms did. This was Capulators 2019 Emerald Cup Special Drop because it's the Fruity Pebbles Pheno Fruity Pebbles cross of his Caps Frozen Lemons, right? So this was, you could only get this at Emerald Cup. You had to be there in 2019 to get this specific variation of the frozen lemons, and this is Brittany's.
Britney Spears Pheno.
Britney
Just
Spears
everyone
Pheno.
knows. It's named after Britney Spears, who is super trendy right now.
Yeah, so we were debating calling it the Free Britney's Frozen Lemons, but we thought that might have been a little bit too far, and yeah, so we stuck with the original name. And Dosey Cake, right? So Dosey Cake is an archive, genetic. This is also our selection. So Dosey Cake. So where I was going with this is Dosey Cake and Original Cookies. We have dropped in BC, and it just got vacuumed up. Really good reviews. We're really happy. We're one of the few LPs that we don't have enough cultivation space, right? So we're in the middle of fixing that. Hopefully, we'll have a good plan and our production, multiplied by 10 by going into 2023. But we've got this massive genetic library that Jen is sorting through and working her heart and magic and science on that deserves more grow rooms. We know how to use grow rooms and we need more of them. So that's I guess a skill set in this industry. So
Cool, guys. Any last thoughts or comments you want to share before we wrap this up here?
This has been really awesome. The time's really flown by.
Yeah.
Very synergistic.
That tends to be the case with the CertiCraft. I mean, because it's not an interview per se. We're just having a conversation here. Like sometimes maybe there's specific questions I bring up because I'm curious or like there's clarification, but it's like there's no agenda here. The only agenda is to give you guys a platform to share whatever you think is relevant. So when that's the case, it just ends up being a normal conversation, and it's fun. It does fly by. There's times where I feel really tired, and then I notice like, oh, we're 2 hours in. That's why I feel tired. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
What were you starting to say?
Because you guys are out west, Catrina and I are coming out for Grow Up. Yeah. And so those tickets are on sale right now. So people should probably go and get their early bird tickets and get out to Victoria to come see us and the Stewart Farms crew.
Genevieve
when is that?
Speaking. Yeah.
What's that?
This is the first time hearing of this. Is it? I'm assuming it's a conference.
Yeah, it's one of the best conferences in Canada, just specifically for growers. So if you are in this industry, and it's open also to vendors, retail, everything, the entire industry. There's an awards ceremony. They usually do them. This is the first one in Victoria, I think. They're out in Niagara. We went to the one in December, and so this one is out in BC. And Ed Rosenthal is going to be there. Jim Belushi's a speaker. I'm a speaker. Kylie from Parkland Flowers, she's a pretty popular speaker all over Canada. So it'll be a pretty cool event.
Yeah, and I'll be at Cannabis here June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Toronto. If any Torontonians or Ontarians that are going to be at Cannabis, so we're splitting up the conferences. It's funner to talk to Jen and Catrina, but I'll be yapping at Cannabis. So.
And so based off what you said there, I'm assuming it's also that early June time. Is that correct?
Yeah, June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is Cannabis. And what did you say for
20th to 22nd? So the end of June. Yeah.
End of June.
Yeah.
Okay.
We like to roll these events together, but sometimes we got to divide and conquer.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Catrina, Genevieve, Tanner, thank you guys so much for being here. next time on the CertiCraft in 2 weeks, we have a guest returning from season 1. We have Serena Donovan. She is the owner of Because You Can with 2 N's. Awesome little micro in Alberta. But this time, we're not going to be talking about her micro. We're going to be talking about the first private cannabis hotel that she started, the Mary Jane Manor, where...
We all know about her. That's exciting.
We're big fans.
You rock, Serena.
This is the best reaction I could have gotten. I was ready to be like, oh, and Catrina, guess what? All of her rooms are terpene themed. But no, you guys probably already know that.
Yeah,
You're all
we
want to
get
go.
invited out there. Actually, there's an event going on in July, and there's a women's retreat out there with some pretty cool women. So we're thinking about it.
It is.
Yeah,
it's very cool. It's a very cool women's retreat. So Tanalina will be.
I told her no.
What? What? I want to go.
We'll go as twins.
The guy how come the guys don't get to hang out with the cool women at the women's retreat? Like, I mean,
because we get all kinds of other privileges in this gendered society of ours. That's why.
Tanalina disagrees.
I totally get where you're coming from, Tanner. I was feeling the same thing. I was like, dang it, I want to go. No, and Kelly Coulter, who is organizing that, hoping to have her as a guest in the one afterwards, where we're planning to do. I don't know how much you guys know about direct delivery and the BCLDB here in BC, but the Cannabis Secretariat's office here, they did a lot of good work and research to figure out what was really problematic in the industry that was stifling economic health, and basically created programs to address that. The file for direct delivery, i.e. allowing small-scale cannabis farmers to sell directly to retailers, was highlighted as a really critical thing, handed BCLDB. The BCLDB has done a shit job. They just don't care. They have not meaningfully engaged the industry in any kind of way, and we're a year in, and it's a big problem in BC that they're just not, despite this being a thing that needs to be addressed because they did a bad job with the first time around, they're still not engaging the industry, and it's really frustrating. So hoping 4 weeks from now to have a deep dive with 3 different guests who have a depth of knowledge around policy work, lobbying governments, just ways to which actually influence change, and have 3 pretty diverse backgrounded people come on as guests to discuss that. And I'm hoping that Kelly is one of those people. But I won't say more because that's still being figured out right now. But yeah, that's we're gonna. I think that's pretty critical for the BC industry, because we have an opportunity here to really create a very vibrant economy, and a government mandated monopoly by a private corporation is throwing a wrench into all that with attitude.
You might not be familiar with the New Brunswick system then, but it's or the Nova Scotia system, or that. Yeah, monopolies are bad. We have a whole other podcast about that for sure.
Totally. No, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but since we are a BC based company, and about like 40% I'd say of our customers are based out of BC, and I do a lot of advocacy work here locally in the Kootenays. I'm pretty involved in trying to get both local and provincial regulations shifted here in ways that are helpful. And for the most part, the BC government has been awesome to work with. It's only the BCLDB that have been really immature. I'll call it that, or self-serving maybe is a better way to put it. Wait. We have a question from the audience before we wrap up here. Nathan asked, any plans for just straight salts? Wasn't that
that's a hard no. Yeah, no, that's a hard no. Yeah. Yeah, no plans for straight salts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick question, quick answer. That was great. Guys, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. For any of you guys watching on YouTube, we'd appreciate a like and subscribe to this channel. And any final comments, words you want to make before I hit the end event button here?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Nicholas, Nathan. Thank all you guys, Ron, Sarah, everybody.
And for any of you guys who joined this late, about a minute or 2 after I hit end event, the video will automatically start replaying here. And for anybody who wants to watch this later, it'll be on YouTube on Monday.
Oh, Tamara. Tamara has it. Sorry, I'm just shouting out to everybody.
See you, Genevieve, Catrina, Tanner. Thank you so much for
Thank
your time.
you.
It was lovely having you here.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye bye.